So I know the sound won't be as good this time. I'm using my phone. I don't have my microphone on. But I was laying here on my back on the floor. Did you know that it's hard to pick up a washing machine all by yourself? I didn't know that until the other day, but now I got some back problems. Anyway, so, maybe you saw the news by now that the Hawaiian employee who sent out the misleading false missile attack alarm has been fired. And probably most of you thought the same thing I thought, which was, oh God, my back hurts. You probably thought, well, that guy sure needs to get fired, right? You're thinking to yourself, if you send down a fake, missile attack alert, you got to get fired. So that makes sense. But I just heard a little bit more about the story today. So the story today is that the employee thought it was a real missile attack. And the reason the employee thought that, and the reason I'm going to defend this employee, is that the missile attack says this is not a drill. So in other words, there was an actual recording that he heard, a televised recording, or I don't know if it was a loudspeaker or whatever, that said, this is not a drill. Now it did say after that, exercise, exercise, exercise. So later, after saying it's not a drill, it says, oh, just kidding. But by then, he'd already imagined himself dying in a gigantic nuclear fireball and had initiated the process to warn the rest of the island. Now, I'm going to blame the system here. And I'm going to make the argument this way. You know all those point-of-sale machines where you put your credit card in? And now with the system where you stick it in with the chip and you leave it there, and I've talked about this before, it says, after you put your card in the point-of-sale machine, it says, do not remove your card. But of course, you're distracted and you're looking around and you look down and you don't see do not. You see in big words, remove card. So you pull your card out. Now, I've done this a number of times, and I've asked the cashier, is this a regular problem? And the one I asked said, oh yeah, it happens all the time. People think it says remove card, but they don't read it carefully. It says do not remove card. Now this is a classic user interface problem. It's one of the most obvious ones. What the point of sale machine should say is leave card inserted. And then it should say, only when it's time to remove it, remove card, problem solved. Now likewise, with this test system that Hawaii had, you don't tell the guy who's in charge of sending out the tweets, it's not a drill. Oh, in a minute, we're going to tell you that it really is a drill. Because once somebody hears there's a nuclear bomb heading in their direction and that they really mean it, you don't hear anything after that, right? You do not hear just kidding. Because as the moment you hear this is not a drill, there's a nuclear missile heading your direction, it is not reasonable to expect that employee to hear the second part of the message. It is not reasonable. You should not expect that of any employee, no matter how well trained. Now here's the second part of it. I'm going to show a little news clip from Fox News, Shepard Smith, and watch how he tries to tell the story, but he actually can't tell the story correctly because he too is confused about this is not a drill versus this is a drill. All right, I'm going to play the clip. If I find my remote control, which I know I have here somewhere. Okay. Oh, here it is.
Negative metastatic breast cancer as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ibrance plus letrozole was significantly more effective at delaying disease progression.
Well, I hit it with my foot,
Patients taking Ibrance
and
low white blood.
now I'll have to rewind and see if I can find that spot. So, just bear with me. Anyway, the point is that Shepard Smith is going to make the same mistake reporting about it.
In the house,
Nope, I've lost it. Okay, so I was looking for my phone and I said to myself, as I look for this phone, I certainly hope my foot doesn't accidentally hit the one button on this entire thing that would make this entire Periscope a waste of time. And then my foot flailed around and hit the one button that would make my TV lose its place in a way that I can't get back. So, but trust me, even Shepard Smith reporting about the story made the same mistake as the person who sent out the wrong tweet. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I submit to you that this employee is taking the blame, and unless there's more to this story, if it's true that the employee was fooled by the fake drill, I say hire that employee back. Who's with me? I think this employee was screwed by the system, and that a normal person could have been expected to make that same mistake, because we see it every day. It's the most common mistake you could make of a poorly designed system. All right, let's bring that guy back. Very unfair. Now, it could be there's more to the story, so we should not assume we know the whole story. But if the story is what we've heard, and I haven't heard anybody say that it's not true, I'm going to say you need to hire that guy back. So, in my role as the creator of Dilbert, probably the most prolific accusers of bad bosses, I take my position very seriously, and I rule that unless there's more to the story, and there could be, unless there's more to the story, this employee is not at fault. It is the system, and whoever designed the system, who really needs to answer some questions, not the person who was fooled by the bad system. All right. Yes, I'll be live periscoping the State of the Union, and so I'll keep this short so you don't get sick of me. McCabe is going to apply for that Hollywood job. There is so much news today. Let's talk about the North Korea prediction. So you've seen by now that the White House has teased. Man, they're good at this. The White House is so good, and by that I mean President Trump, at turning something into a show. I mean, this State of the Union, I've never looked forward to something as much as this, at least in months. It is so amazingly exciting. I just can't wait for it. Now, and they've teased that there's going to be something eye-opening, that's the quote, eye-opening about North Korea. Something about Hamas, I don't know anything about that. So there are two ways eye-opening could go. One way eye-opening could go is it's bad news. The other way it could go is it's good news. But given that it's the State of the Union, do you think he wants to take that opportunity to give you bad news? Probably not. So I think, I can't remember if I said this explicitly, but this is why you tune into my periscopes. How many remember me saying that we would be entering the golden age when you saw two signs? One sign would be something substantial with North Korea. Do you remember the second signal? The second signal was something big about, wait for it, healthcare. Yep. So the Golden Age prediction was that you would see something substantial about healthcare and about North Korea. Now, I'm not going to say we're there because, the healthcare thing might take a long time for them to come up with something, but indeed, President Trump has taken probably one of his most powerful nemesis, whatever the word is, which is, Jeff Bezos, because he owns the Washington Post. So he's turned his biggest nemesis into the solver of his biggest problem. And he did that through the magic of, first of all, embarrassing companies that aren't doing a good job, for the country. So that helps. Keep in mind that the president has done what I've never seen done before. He's created a situation where corporations are vying for his approval. Now, not just his approval, but approval of the citizens as he's sort of the mouthpiece for the citizens. So pleasing him in this context is the same as pleasing the humans, the rest of us. Humans, he's human too. So you got that backdrop. So you've got, some of the richest people in the world, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Jamie Dimon, thinking we kind of have to be part of the solution. It's the same way I feel. There is something about the Trump administration which makes me feel like I need to be part of the solution and somehow. And you've seen some of the things I've done. You haven't seen a number of things I'm working on, but you probably will. So you got that, and then you've got on top of that the president has made that one rule change that people could create associations for healthcare reasons. That one piece of deregulation might be behind what makes this possible. So it's a market solution for something governments aren't good at doing. And sure enough, by creating a situation where only a market solution will work, and then removing a regulation to make that possible, he may have created this situation. He won't get credit for it in the normal way, but he created a situation where this was not a predictable outcome, but certainly one of the likely ones, whether it was this group of companies or someone else. I expect you're going to see a lot more creativity coming out of the private healthcare industry. And then as far as what to expect for the North Korea eye-opening situation, the most likely, if it's good news, and I'm going to predict it's something encouraging, it will be far short of something like a peace plan. But I think it's going to be something along the lines of a direct conversation coming up. So here's going to be my prediction, that there will be preparation for, not a final agreement, but preparation for a conversation between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. So I'll make that my prediction, not that they've agreed to do it, but that there's movement in that direction. I'm not too confident in that prediction, so if I get that one wrong, I won't be too surprised. Now, it could be also that there's just, movement toward negotiation or something like that. Or it could be just that there's movement toward restricting the economy of North Korea. So he could just say we've made big progress in implementing the sanctions, but that doesn't feel like something you'd tease, because it wouldn't be believable anyway. People would just say, well, how do we know? So we might be looking at the beginning of the golden age today, with the kickoff from big changes to healthcare, and maybe something good happening on North Korea could be the beginning. Somebody said I'm soul stoner mates with Kim Jong-un. Well, let me tell you, it's my understanding that North Korea loves their marijuana, and that it's so common there it grows by the side of the road. And I believe that's true. Now, if that's true, you'd have to also assume that Kim Jong-un is probably a stoner, as in 98% chance. So I don't know how many other world leaders are also stoners, but it certainly gives me great hope that war isn't what he has in mind, if he can avoid it. You know what also I didn't know? Do you remember I was saying that the long-term plan for North Korea should be that they should take what I call the Switzerland of the East approach and just declare themselves, with the help of the United Nations and the big powers around them, including US, China, and Russia, South Korea, just declare themselves neutral forever, and that everybody will protect them if anybody attacks them. But also at the same time, they could agree to a 100-year reunification plan with small steps to get confidence along the way. All the people today will be dead by then. You know, they'll be leaving it to future generations, but they'll have a plan certain to get there. And then part of that was, I said, you could turn North Korea into sort of a Las Vegas, you know, where the rules are loose, if you know what I mean. And I didn't realize at the time that there is actually a resort zone of North Korea. I forget what it's called, but there's an actual zone there that they do mean to be it looks like an international destination. At least that seems to be the plan. So they're really well poised to become the most successful country, you know, ever. When I say the most successful, I mean the biggest change from where they were to where they could end up. Because I'm thinking that they're an educated country, and they have, you know, good controls on things. You know, if you turn them loose for capitalism and give them food, I got a feeling they could do a lot of stuff. The Chinese love gambling, and it's illegal there. Well, it's obviously not illegal everywhere in China. All right. So I'll check back with you at the State of the Union. I will warn you again.